The trouble started on a quiet Tuesday morning, the kind of day where my biggest plan was to mow the lawn and maybe fix that wobbly gate post by the garage. I was savoring my second cup of coffee, watching dew sparkle on the grass, when I spotted them, 3 workers in bright orange vests tromping across my yard like it was their own. No knock, no heads up, not even a courtesy. Mind if we dig up your lawn? Just boots, little flags, and neon spray paint. I figured it was a city crew gone rogue, maybe misreading an address. But as the morning unfolded and they started carve-wying deep trenches through my flower beds, I knew this wasn't a mix-up. They were deliberate. Worse, they acted like they had every right. When I pressed one of the workers, a guy chomping gum who dodged my questions like a pro, he mumbled, HOA contract, fiber install. Just doing our job. I hadn't signed a thing. No letter, no email, not a whisper of approval. Naturally, I stormed 6 blocks to the HOA office, expecting a quick fix, maybe even an apology. Instead, I met Diane, not just any Diane, the Diane, HOA chairwoman, master of petty fines, and queen of smug smiles. Her nameplate read D. Larson, but the neighborhood called her the commander. Diane had a knack for turning politeness into a weapon. Oh, she cooed, her voice a mix of syrup and spite. We sent a notice last month. Check your mailbox. I checked. Nothing. She brushed me off with a smirk, saying, the board voted on it. You should have come to the monthly meeting. You know, the one at 2 p.m. On a Wednesday, no Zoom option. Right. Turns out, Diane had rammed through a Community Connecty VY plan, a fancy term for burying fiber optic cables across the neighborhood, consent optional. My yard? Prime real estate for their trenches. Why not use the public easement like normal people? Diane, twirling a pin like it was a scepter, said, your lot's central. It's logical. Translation, convenient for them, not legal, not ethical, just easy. When I asked for the permit, she slid over a blurry photocopy that looked like it was faxed from 1995. The signature line? Blank. It's Provisional, she said, as narrowing as I leaned in. We're finalizing approvals, but the project's already started. Delays cost money. That's when it clicked. They didn't have full approval. They were banking on no one pushing back, and most wouldn't, either too worn down or too scared of Diane's grip on the board. That night, I went full detective mode. Coffee gave way to bourbon. I dug through every HOA document, bylaw, and city code I could find. My leave-lying room became a war zone of printouts, highlighters, and sticky notes. Buried in the HOA charter was gold. The HOA may conduct projects on common areas or easements with notice. Private property requires explicit written consent. Jackpot. My yard wasn't common land or an easement, it was private. No consent, no notice, no dice. This wasn't just rude, it was illegal. The next morning, I found a deeper trench snaking across my lawn. My dog wouldn't even pee near it. My sprinklers were wrecked, and my cherry blossom tree planted with my dad years ago was gone. No warning, no apology, just a scar of dirt where it stood. That's when I snapped. Diane hadn't just invaded my space, she'd erased a memory. For what? Faster Netflix? A kickback, maybe? Because no one fights this hard for Wi-Fi without a hidden angle. I started documenting everything: photos, the videos, timestamps, even the workers' truck plates. I borrowed my buddy's drone for aerial shots of the trench cutting across my property line. I wasn't just mad, I was building a case. When I marched back to the HOA office with their own bylaws highlighted like a legal brief, Diane didn't flinch. The project's 40-fan tram done, she sniffed. Too late to object. I shot back. Then your 40-fan tram into a lawsuit. I demanded they stop, fill the trench, and reroute the cables. Diane leaned back, smirking. You're overreacting. It's just dirt. No one else minds. That no one else line? HOA code for, I thought you'd fold like the others. But I wasn't folding. She tried one last jab, file a grievance, but the board decides if it's valid. And you know how they vote. Translation, her board was her personal fan club. What she didn't know was I had a scanner, a cousin who knew construction law, and a fire in my gut to make my yard the last one she'd ever touch without permission. I bought a shovel, not a metaphor, a real, heavy-duty one, built for tough soil. Poetic, right? My plan, if they buried cables on my land without consent, I'd dig them up. No easement, no agreement, just my right to my property. I started in the trench, now a muddy gash across my yard. Neighbors peeked out curious. One guy waved from his porch, half confused, half impressed. I uncovered a cable labeled HOA Fiber A1, all neat and smug. I traced it to a junction box hidden behind my displaced azalea. Inside? A mess loose wires, no grounding, no permit tags, just a duct-taped label, property of Horizon Link via HOA. Gotcha. Now I had a name. I fired off an email to Horizon Link's customer Ser VYC. Unauthorized install on private property. Fix it. I attached photos, bylaws, and CC'd the city's code office. By evening, their regional manager called, voice shaky. We'd never install without an easement or HOA approval, he said. I laid it out. No consent, no docs, and a torn-up yard for a cable that didn't even serve me. We'll pause the project and investigate, he stammered. Translation, their lawyers were sweating. Diane, though, wasn't rattled. She banged on my door the next morning, hard enough to wake the dead, clutching a folder. You are vandalizing community infrastructure, she barked, stepping onto my porch like she owned it. I didn't blink. No, you're trespassing and calling it progress. She shoved a violation notice at me HOA letterhead, listing my crimes, damaging assets, aggressive behavior or, and me favorite, unauthorized excavation of utility lines. I laughed. You buried cables illegally. I can dig up my own yard. Her lips thinned. You'll regret this, she hissed. I smiled. Tell that to the city inspector, I called. I'd reported the unpermitted work, shoddy wiring, and missing docks. An inspector was coming, and I offered him coffee. Diane doubled down with an email threatening DULA 500 daily fines for interfering with HOA projects. I replied with the city code, the HOA charter, and a note. Send threats to my lawyer. I didn't have one yet, but she didn't know that. Bluffing's cheap. Then I got creative. I exposed more of the trench, careful not to cut the cables yet. Around it, I built a picket fence, white and cheery, with a sign, warning, illegal installation. Trespassers documented. I added solar lights and a lawn chair, sipping tea as neighbors stopped by. What's this? They'd ask. Everything, I'd say. Word spread. The fence became a symbol. Neighbors brought snacks, at VYC, even popcorn. Diane called it a hazard and demanded I remove it. I called it free speech. She fumed. Horizon Link, meanwhile, ghosted her. My email triggered an audit of their HOA deals, and they didn't like what they found. The project froze. Diane spun it as a technical delay, but everyone knew she was slipping. I hadn't cut the cable yet, that was next. 3 days after my fence went viral on the neighborhood's social page, I found a note zip-tied to the cable. Tampering may lead to prosecution. No signature, just Diane's desperate scare tactic. She thought threats would save her. She didn't know I'd talked to lawyers and a telecom buddy, Ray, who hated shady ISPs. Ray came over, grinning. You sure? He asked. I nodded. It's my land. At dusk, we unplugged the main cable from the splice box, coiled it neatly, and labeled it, Return to Sender. I boxed it, dropped it at the HOA office with a note. Found this in my yard. Thought you'd want it back. I emailed a photo to the HOA list. Unclaimed property returned. The forum blew up. Why's my internet out? They ran cable without permission? Diane posted. Vandalism has delayed the fiber rollout. We're pursuing legal action. I replied with screenshots, bylaws, codes, drone shots, and Ray pointing at the cable like a game show host. I said nothing else. The silence roared. Horizon Link sent a tech, whose side at my fence now lit up like a protest shrine. Off the record, he said, we're dropping the HOA deal. Too risky. You did right. I gave him lemonade. He nodded and left. Their crew cleared out the remaining gear that night, quiet as a retreating army. Diane, though, kept swinging DULA 750 fine for tampering. I burned it, figuratively, and emailed the board a cease and desist, drafted with Ray's lawyer niece. 2 board members quit. One emailed anonymously, we didn't know how bad it was. Sorry. The real blow came at Diane's weekly community brunch, her stage for playing Saint. I showed up with a custom invoice. DULA 8,240 for yard damage, tree loss, legal fees, and HOA harassment trauma. I handed it to her in front of everyone, with copies for the board. She laughed it off, but her eye twitched. Whispers spread. A kid asked, is he the cable guy? I felt alive. After that, Everything shifted. Meetings went online. Diane's veto power vanished. A contract audit was proposed. Her reign was crumbling, and I was just warming up. Then, an envelope slid through my mail slot, no stamp. Just look scrawled on it. Inside, a flash drive, scanned notes, and a post-it, she's hiding votes. Start with July 2023. No name, no hint. It felt like a spy novel. The drive was a mess: PDFs, spreadsheets, blurry emails, but it painted a picture. Diane had passed key votes, like the fiber deal, in secret, emergency meetings never announced. July 2023? Unlisted, with 3 voters: Diane, her pal Susan, treasurer, and a homeowner who'd moved away. Ghost votes. Some approvals came from a Gmail, dianevotes2@songdomain.com. I stared. Was she this sloppy? I cataloged it: all fake votes, missing minutes, and a Horizon invoice dated before board approval. Fraud, plain and simple. I took it to the city auditor with a binder and a grin. The clerk scrolled through, muttering, "This is wild." A week later, Diane got a letter, then a VY sit. The city demanded 18 months of board records. Neighbors started asking why dues spiked, why Diane's cousin's firm got landscaping gigs. At the next meeting, packed after my flyer, "Where's your money going?" Diane tried to spin it: streamlined voting, temporary flexibility. I cut in, reading the charter. Meetings need 72-hour notice and quorum. How's 3 people, 1 in Texas, a quorum? I asked. She deflected. This isn't about conspiracies. But Susan stood up, shaking, holding an invoice. You said we approved this, Diane. I was in surgery. The room froze. Susan wasn't there. Boom. Motions passed to suspend Diane and audit her contracts. She stormed out, muttering about lawsuits. The forum lit up, not complaints, but cheers. Dictatorship's done. Fire brigade's over. My sign now read, accepting honest board members. Shovels free. Diane didn't quit. She fought back, unhinged. An email blast, the truth they won't tell, accused me of a disinformation campaign in the board of mob rule. She attached a sneaky photo of me with my shovel, calling me a fiber terrorist. She demanded a reinstatement vote. Per her own rules, it needed 90 fan tram attendance. She set up chairs, brought cookies, and gave a speech. Only 11 showed: 3 friends, 4 for snacks, the rest for drama. Her mic failed. A toddler wailed. Someone muttered, "Nap time CIVYC engagement." A resident asked about audit, found fake bonuses. Diane stammered. Another asked, bribes. She stormed out, Leah vying her cookies. Someone ate the good ones. She launched a website, truthforthehoa.net, Comic Sans and all, naming me, Susan, Ray, and others as enemies. It backfired. An IT neighbor traced it to her, revealing HOA funds spent on it. Then she taped a Neighborhood Preservation Task Force notice to my door, claiming I'd desecrated CIVYC tradition. I composted it. Her final swing? She showed up with a fake citation, trying to barge into my yard. I launched my drone, recording her rant. "You're on camera," I said, "and the gnome's watching." She froze, then left, hissing, "You'll regret this." The clip went viral locally, Diane versus Gnome. Memes exploded. The audit hit like a bomb. 27 pages of violations, Diane's pressure washer billed as HOA gear, her birthday dinner as outreach, fake landscaping payments to her own firm due law $11,000 for non-existent shrubs. The fiber deal? Breach of fiduciary duty. Every fine, contract, and solo policy was voided. Diane was banned from HOA roles countywide. Ordered to pay due law $18,400 to the HOA, due law $2,000 to residents, due law $3,500 in penalties, and best parto dig up her cables under supervision. Watching her shovel in my yard, city rep hovering, was poetic. Ray droned it with music. Susan offered sunscreen. I handed her lemonade. She nodded, silent, finally tasting her own rules. 6 months later, Diane moved. A U-Haul at dawn, no note. Word came she tried an HOA board in her new town, shot down. Banned still. They stuck her on landscaping, trimming hedges for a strict HOA that fined her for a solar gnome. My gnome? Still glowing. I laminated her violation notice, hung it on my mailbox. The gnome remembers. We threw a block party, panada, burgers, democracy. Susan led fair meetings. Sunflowers bloomed. Diane's legacy? buried, like her cables. All it took was a shovel, a drone, and neighbors done with clipboards.